Everyone, if you'll find your seats. Welcome on the sultriest day of the year. I ditched the tie for my 7:30 meeting, so there was little likelihood I was going to put it back on, so my apologies. I'll call the meeting to order. It's Tuesday, May 25th. This is the Executive Committee of the Peoria County Board. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of April 27th. Or I would sing for one. Thank you, Mr. Renaud. Ms. Bryant, did I see you on the second? Are there any additions or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. We could record that as unanimous. We'll go to item 3 this afternoon, the informational items. Mr. Sorrell, I'll let you take those one at a time or as you see.
Sure. Happy to, Mr. Chairman. I don't specifically have anything to report on Springdale, but obviously you've got 2 members of the Springdale board sitting around the horseshoe today, so once I roll through everything else, if they have anything to add, I'm sure they'd be happy to do so. Just quickly, under monthly CDAP gap macro loan report, the only 2 outstanding loans we have are current, and one of those loans is in the process of being refinanced through their primary lender, and when that closes later this summer, that part of that refi will be paying us off in full. So once that happens, we'll be down to 1 active loan. You saw the Headington Oaks financials in Mr. Fennell's committee. And the enterprise zone from the Greater Peoria EDC monthly report is in the packet as well. So that covers all of my informational items, Mr. Chairman. I know the Madam Auditor is in the audience and has a new member of Team Peoria County working in her office that she probably would like to introduce, plus the report that's in the packet. So turn it back over to you to recognize her.
Thank you. Madam Auditor, did you want to introduce your new teammate?
Hello. Okay. Any questions about the audit report before we go on? Okay. Seeing that none, we did add 2 new part-time to meet the deficit in staffing that we had for the past 3 months. So we were severely short-staffed. Our office was cut in half with the staffing down to 1 person. So the processing time for a lot of AP batches did suffer during that time, but we did hire 2 new part-time people to fulfill the full-time position that was left vacant. One of the part-time people is Lori Saunders, and the other one is Brittany Strickland. So, Lori, did you want to say anything? Lori, as many of you all know, is Bonnie Hester's daughter. Bonnie Hester served on the county board many years ago.
Thank you. Welcome aboard. It looks better inside than it does on the outside. So look forward to working with you. Thank you both. If there are no other comments under item 3, I will entertain a resolution regarding the amendment to the, is this right, 1958? Tri-County Regional Planning Commission organizing documents.
So move.
Thank you. I got Mr. Rosenbaum, a committee member on the first. Phil, can I take you as the second committee member?
Certainly.
Thank you very much. Are you planning on playing golf today, Phil? Are you planning on golfing?
Golfing?
Yes, sir.
Why?
It's the Vizzy shirt you got, so when you're in the fairway, no one forgets you're in the fairway.
I don't get lost that way.
I earned that. Mr. Sorrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, you're correct. 1958 is when Tri-County Regional Planning Commission was created. The item before you today amends the resolution that your predecessors, along with those in Tazewell and Woodford counties, adopted, creating the commission. This resolution is necessary because PUATS, which is the Peoria Pekin Urbanized Area Transportation Study, is going to be folded into the commission. After the Federal Aid Highway Act in the early 70s, PUATS was created as our regional metropolitan planning organization. For those who are unaware, that's the body that funnels all of the federal urbanized transportation dollars out to local agencies being county governments and municipal governments. The amendment talks about membership of the commission. Currently, Mr. Chairman, you have numerous appointments to the commission going forward so as to comply with that federal statute and to ensure that the commission maintains the status of being the MPO for the region. The appointment process will change. Our number of appointments will decrease down to 2, but municipalities within the county will see appointments being possible for the first time. And those include Bartonville, West Peoria, Peoria Heights, and Chillicothe. So each one of those municipalities will have an appointment of their own. Previously, under the current rules, those appointments representation are done through you, Mr. Chairman, with the advice and consent of the body. I know Eric Miller, who's the executive director of the commission, is present today, and Tazewell County board member and commission member Russ Crawford is also in the audience today, should you or the committee members have any questions.
Thank you. This is a pretty big, momentous day for Tri-County and PUATS. If I could beg the floor for Eric Miller for a few minutes. Eric, as you head to the mic, in the interest of full disclosure, I've known you for 12 years, I guess.
That's correct.
Part of that time, I think I served as a member of the Peoria County delegation to Tri-County, where we first got to see you at work as a young pup in the planning function there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what have you been doing since?
Well, we've been carrying on the mission of the Tri-County Regional Planning Commission, as well as the PUATS organization. If the committee is not aware, the PUATS organization is a very important part of the commission, representing about 85% of our budget of about $1.4 million per year. And this resolution in front of you would essentially help us create a more efficient organization and make certainly leaner. Right now we have about 42 people approving that $1.2 million, $1.4 million, and this would allow us to essentially cut our policy approval process in half, which is the current standing of proposal of 22 board members that is representative of the Metropolitan Planning Organization.
Thank you. Would you continue on with a few more questions? Will this cost more, less, or the same?
It will cost Peoria County and all the counties less. With this organizational change, prior to the organization, we collected around $16,000 for essentially a membership due from Peoria County. We also collected Peoria County's share of the match, the federal match required for the Metropolitan Planning Organization. With this proposed merger, we would not collect the $16,000. Peoria County share would just be the proportionate match for the Metropolitan Planning Organization funding. So we would save the county, in effect, $16,000, save the region $42,000.
So to be a little bit more precise, when you say proportionate share, is that based on a census, number of citizens, number of road miles?
It's a sort of complicated formula, but it's based on the motor fuel tax collections of each of the standing members of the PUETS organization.
So can you tell us how much the county's fees will be going forward?
I believe that's, and Administrator Sorrell, correct me if I'm wrong, around $28,000.
That's pretty close, yes.
Thank you. Now, the impetus for the consolidation of these two bodies is what?
I believe it's the efficiency. We've had issues obtaining quorums and membership throughout the commission. The PUETS organization is a little bit easier to entice the membership to attend the meetings because oftentimes we're handing out money. At the commission, with sort of the downturn in state finances, there's not been as much action outside of transportation in the past few years. One of the things that I would like to say is the commission is also committed, will be committed in the future towards promoting and supporting all the programs that it has in the past, including land use and environmental planning. We seek on a regular basis to obtain grants to fund those programs from sources like the Illinois EPA or the Illinois Department of Natural Resources. And if those programs become available, we will apply for those grants as we did in the past. So we're not cutting our services by any means. We'll continue to be the same organization. It is essentially a shift in the membership from county board based to county board and municipal based.
Thank you. A few years ago, I want to say it was about 7, there were some financial difficulties at Tri-County. Would you elaborate, please?
Yeah, Tri-County did not have adequate reserves to fund a downturn, and we experienced a downturn, and through Chairman Rand's leadership, he organized a cash infusion into the commission and essentially demanded that we get our act together from a financial standpoint, bringing in an outside accounting firm to do a thorough audit and reorganization of our finance capabilities, and that has been done and completed, and I'm happy to say that our finances at the commission have never been stronger, and that's partially due to Chairman Rand's leadership of demanding the counties sort of support the Regional Planning Commission and have adequate reserves in case of downturn, which we will probably likely experience again if history tells us anything.
Well, that was an awfully nice commercial for my next campaign, but it's a little early.
Glad to be of help.
So tell us about your financial standing today and your balance sheet in particular.
I did not bring that information in front of me. I can provide the membership with the balance sheet. I believe we have about $787,000 cash. I think that's about an 8-month spend. In finances, our average spend is about $110,000 a year. We keep adding to our budget, even though that does not necessarily add to our reserves. Our accounting is in a sense we recover our money. It's reimbursed by the state, and we do so and recover our costs with our indirect cost rates that were allowed through the federal government.
So, as a master planning organization, you provide what for the county?
We provide a couple different things. We serve as the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which Scott mentioned, that provides a long-range transportation planning function that's required by federal law. We produce a document called our Long-Range Transportation Plan, which outlines all transportation improvements in the region. The latest one has focus primarily on maintenance of highway systems and how we should not essentially build new roads and focus on the maintenance of those systems. We're also advocating use of non-motorized transportation, including mass transit, bicycle pedestrian. By the way, we've applied for the grant. We developed the grant application for the Hannah City Trail, which I feel is very close to being announced positively. I hope that's not on public record, but I feel that we're very close to an announcement. That's a huge boost of 25 miles of uninterrupted transportation corridor that serves the heart of Peoria County, and we hope to have economic benefits like that that we see in the Rock Island Trail and the west part of the county, as well as the south side of Peoria, which this trail will essentially intersect with. We also provide a vision on and leadership with the restoration of the Illinois River. You know, as we all know, the Illinois River is our greatest economic and environmental asset, to be honest with you. We need to focus around that and drive development around the river. And we're dealing with sort of two byproducts of sort of the scars of that river, including the Asian invasive carp, as well as the soils material, the sedimentation issue, and we're essentially finding a market to reuse those. So those are programs which we hang our hat on, and you know, we find ways to slowly sort of change the narrative as it relates to certain environmental issues as in the region. And probably the most important thing is my longtime Commissioner Crawford would mention is that we're your home to talk to other leaders throughout the region. We may not be able to solve the region's problems, but we are a place to talk about those problems with other elected officials in a public setting. And we encourage those issues to be brought forward to the table of the Regional Planning Commission, even though we may not have a stake in a stake in the ultimate outcome of how we solve those problems. We certainly do relish the fact that we are a forum in which regional issues can be discussed amongst regional leaders.
Job. I don't think you need to interview for it. I mean, the reason I've asked him some questions is so some of our newer members that have bumped into the Regional Planning Authority in Puats might develop a greater understanding for how it does connect to the county and the communities within the county. Two more questions. Your organization also provides studies for a fee to smaller governments within the confines of Peoria County. Would you give us some examples of who and what you work for?
Yeah, we recently completed comprehensive plans for the village of Dunlap and the village of Princeville. Both of those communities contacted us to see if these services could be performed. We're very happy to provide those services in the form of planner leading them through their comprehensive plan efforts, and we do it at a very small fee of around $10,000, sort of depending on the scope. If these communities were to approach a consultant, it would probably be in the $40,000 or $50,000 range. So we sort of relish the fact that we can offer those services to small communities. And we've done this throughout a number of communities in the Peoria region, in Peoria County, and we're currently working on a few in Tazewell and Woodford County. So it's a nice service to provide.
Thank you. And most recently, the county of Peoria approached you folks about substituting some funds in an out year to an earlier year so that we could resolve an intersection problem in, I don't know if it's the 5th district or the 4th district of the city. It's in part of Steve's district and part of Rachel's district. But the famous Allen Road, Willow Knolls intersection, could you describe your help there?
Well, I didn't do nearly as much as you're probably giving me credit for. We found a way to essentially substitute a existing Peoria County project with an urgent need that needed to be resolved, a regional need. The intersection is Willow Knolls and Allen Road, and it was a disaster to say the least. 2-3 years ago now, I think it was. And it was clear that while the road was scheduled to be maintained through our normal and receive federal funding through a normal process, but sometimes those are out years. Those are years away before the funding is scheduled to be received. With Chairman Rand's request, we found a way to bring it before the technical and the policy committee of the PUETS organization, and they ultimately voted to make that change in prioritization and move ahead the road. So I will give credit to the Chairman Rand for having the idea and not losing the out-year funding either to be able to substitute that. So that was a way that we could assist Peoria County in solving a regional need.
Thank you. Any questions for Eric, the Jefe out at Tri-County, Ms. Bestisha?
I was just curious if there was any of these members, was there anyone asked to be a member that didn't want to be, or
In terms of a local unit of government or
Right.
one of the other participants, Eric?
Yeah, so the units of government are defined by, essentially the units of government that participate in the organization are defined by the Census Bureau. Obviously, the county is part of that urbanized area, as well as the communities that we sort of associate with being in the urbanized area. If they are over 5,000 population, 5,000 people population, they can choose to participate. And most of the smaller communities do not choose to participate, such as, I'll say Bellevue. They are under 5,000, under the threshold population of 5,000. They choose not to participate because it wouldn't have much benefit in them. A city like Chillicothe, who was recently brought into the urbanized area by the Census Bureau, did choose to participate. And by choosing to participate, obviously you participate in the planning function, but you can also participate in receiving federal highway dollars for construction projects. Also by participating, you get to participate in the planning process, which we've funded numerous studies within Peoria County for a variety of communities. Hope that answers your question.
You good? Anyone else? All right, it would be
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
I was
Mr.
just going
Salzman.
to comment that
Sure.
absolutely, this is a good financial investment for us, our dues and so forth. I've twice served on PUATS and once on Tri-County. I enjoyed doing PUATS more than I did Tri-County, and our executive director indicated that most people seem to like to hand out money and so forth, and I enjoyed doing that. And when you talked about the Willow Knolls project and how it was handled and so forth, I think about West Peoria and the construction of a job right outside of your particular business over there on the Sterling Hill that goes down, of course, to Farmington Road. That project got moved up, I think, about a year and a half, didn't it, Eric?
Yes.
And they can do things like that. And for what we invest in this, you know, I've seen us get back more than $2 million in projects for Peoria County. So it is really a great thing. And the efficiency, I've been in a few tri-county meetings, and at that particular commission, it's harder to get executive board to not the executive board, but the regular members. The executive board will have enough quorum so that we can actually hold a meeting. And but if we had to depend definitely on all of the members, counting all of the members, a couple times we weren't able to hold meetings, and that's not good because they had too many members. So it does lead to efficiency, and I think it's going to lead to more accountability because these members are some of the leading elected officials in our three-county area that are going to become members of this particular commission.
Thank you, Mr. Salzer. To the body, I'd be remiss if I didn't invite Tazewell County Board member, the Venerable Russ Crawford, who's sitting directly behind Eric. Do you have any comments, Mr. Crawford?
Well, I listened carefully
And welcome.
thank you. It's good to be back to the Peoria County Board. I've always enjoyed coming here. I listened very carefully to between Scott and Eric's comments, and you've gotten almost everything on my punch list that I thought you needed to have in terms of information. A few just little cleanups. One is a real important thing that not only is there $42,000 of savings for the Tri-County area and 16 here, every penny of that 16 is in the Peoria County General Fund. And that, as you know, I used to be a county auditor. So that's the most important fund, and it's the one that's threatened most of the time and in jeopardy of fiscal health. So that's important. Another thing is we have really slashed the bylaws. So we not only cut them, but we eliminated duplication, and we added accountability. So before, if you'd ever been a member of PUATS, you remember sometimes some cities didn't have any representation and some cities had 3. And what we called alternates. Well, we eliminated all the alternates, and each city, except for Peoria, will have 1 representative. And you might know, Andrew knows, that I've been doing a lot of calling lately and trying to identify who those people will be from those appointments. And I've finished all the cities, and I would say over 90% of all the appointments by the mayors are themselves. So they have tagged themselves with that accountability, which is appropriate. And if that mayor's not in the meeting, that city loses its vote. So somebody else can't vote for that city. So the accountability is very high. We've eliminated we've reduced the executive committee in terms of the number, and he's already explained all the reductions from the regular numbers of members. And I think that's everything that I wanted you to know that you hadn't heard.
Thank you. Do any of the members, Mr. Rosenbaum?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The one thing that they hadn't mentioned is there's a lot of people that were both on PUATS in Tri-County, so they're both going to the same meetings, and some of it was redundancy. And so instead of having, this will eliminate some of the going to almost the same meeting or similar to it. So just the efficiencies on that was one of the big things. And since they're already on the one committee, and if they don't have to go to 2 meetings and hear the similar stuff, then maybe we can get more stuff done in a faster pace. I just want to bring that up also. Thank you.
Thank you. Others? Phil, did you have a final comment on this? Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Crawford, for your service to the region. Certainly your political career has left an indelible mark on much of the work, many of the roadway amenities that we all come to enjoy. Perhaps we can put your name on a big highway soon. Crawford Interchange. Thank you, Russ. All right, so it's, as Scott said, it's a adjustment to some old contracts that permit us to provide a leaner, more streamlined metropolitan planning organization, and relationships between all the governments included in the packet are extremely important to the county, not just in those inside Peoria County, but outside Peoria County as well. If there are no other questions, I would ask for a vote. All those in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. That would be, is Jan recording today? Jan, that looks unanimous to me as well. Thank you, everyone. Congratulations, Eric and Russ. We look forward to you getting us more road money and stuff. Next item is an amendment to the charter on the to be formed Joint Commission on Racial Justice and Equity with our co-partner, the City of Peoria. Can I get a motion to approve? Thank you, Dr. Blair, and thank you, Ms. Bryant, on the second. Mr. Sorrell, do you want to remind us of where we are?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sure thing. So last fall, the board and the City Council adopted the charter for the Joint Commission on Racial Justice and Equity, and at that time, then we opened it up and have seen in excess of 200 community members submit their name and information to participate as members of the commission or its various committees. Due to that overwhelming interest and in conversations between yourself and Mayor Ali, we need to bring back a couple of amendments to the charter itself. The first is to create a steering committee whose size will actually be a little bit bigger than what the commission was originally intended, and that will function as the primary body of the Joint Commission. All the other requirements of membership remain unchanged, but the size grows from to a point now that it's no less than 15 members and no more than 22 members, which is a little bit bigger. Additionally, the original charter had it set up so that members of that body would be chairs, co-chairs, or vice chairs of the various subcommittees and committees of the commission. Due to the overwhelming interest in the appointment list that will be on the list of appointments for the June County Board meeting and the desire to get maximum participation from all that interest, the bylaws are also proposed to be changed so that a member of the steering committee is not required to be a chair, co-chair, or vice chair of any of those committees. That way we've got maximum participation. Those are the changes to the charter itself. I believe the council is going to be taking this when they meet Tuesday night, and then assuming it passes here today, it'll be calendared for the June County Board meeting, along with the list of appointments.
Thank you, Scott, for your background. Open the floor. Any questions? Ms. Kate?
I was just curious what the status of this committee has been. I haven't been following how often they've been meeting. I mean,
It hasn't been seated, so it
okay,
has
that's
not
what
met
I was
yet.
wondering. Okay,
Yeah.
so this still hasn't been formed officially
Correct.
yet. Okay,
So,
that's what I was wondering.
And for informational purposes, the list of appointments that are proposed starts on page 48 of the packet.
Okay.
Other questions? Mr. Dillon.
Just a quick one, just not that it's But on, which would be page 5, that where terms, so they're gonna stagger it in 1 year and 2 year terms?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dillon. So that's original documentation or language from what was approved last fall. It's to create that a natural stagger that most bodies have, including this body here, so that when terms roll over, you're replacing only half of the body instead of the entire body at once.
Well, my only question would be, because it says in here, shall not serve a maximum of 3 terms, but not to exceed 5 years. So if I was to receive a 2-year term off the bat, that should be 6 years, not 5. If you wanted somebody to do maximum of no more than 3.
Correct.
It would either be 4 or 5.
Yeah, depending on
how
whether depending on whether you draw a 1-year term or a 2-year term out of the gate, you'd either be serving, either a total of 4 years or a total of 5 years maximum.
I just didn't know if that needed to be corrected, if you wanted the 2-year to be no more than 3, or if that language is just kind of.
I'm trying to remember why it's done that way. I think it's working backwards from a due date on some reporting that was originally established. And I also think it provides for interim appointments to open positions that would be serving the remainder of a commission member's term. So since they weren't appointed as a full member, they could still be appointed up to 2 more terms after they served a partial term. I think that's the reason for that.
That sounds right, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jim. Anyone else? All right, well, it's time to vote. All those in favor of the resolution establishing these, conferring these amendments to the charter on the Joint Commission on Racial Justice and Equity, please say aye. Aye. All right, all opposed, same sign. Jan, I think that would be recorded as unanimous as well. Thank you. Do any of the committee members need to leave soon for a doctor's appointment, a ball game, a car wash? I will adjust the order of the agendas. Okay, seeing no one, we'll just start at the back page. Mr. Vice Chairman Fennell. Thank you. Anybody not part of that committee meeting that wants to ask Jim any questions? All right, I'll go back one page. Public safety.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had 2 resolutions, and there's one information thing I wanted to bring up. Our coroner, Mr. Harwood, came in today and told us that he's got a agreement now with OSF to do the x-rays for autopsies. For 10 years or so, the St. Francis has been doing it for free, and they finally told him that they weren't going to do it anymore, and he did a study and found out that OSF will give us the best deal still, and it'll cost about $5,000 for the rest of the year, he figures, and that won't be there won't be need to be a budget change. He's got enough to take care of that. So it was nice to find out that for 10 years we got some freebies from OSF, and we thank them for that. The first resolution was an intergovernmental agreement between DCFS and Peoria County, and that is where that was where we're going to get reimbursed, I think, for lawyers for all the different people, the children that are in the thing, that the lawyers for the children, the lawyers for their parents. Sometimes there's 3 or 4 different lawyers. Am I correct on all that, Scott? And so
yes.
we'll get some reimbursement on that. And then the second one was appropriations in the court budget for revised AOIC rapid relief funding. And that would be some money coming in for the courts. I think they're going to use most of that at the sheriff's office to where they had the closed circuit TVs to make it so it can go. They can do the Zoom meetings with the
Defendants.
what's the right word I want to use? The
Defendants.
Our people that are staying there at the jail, and so that has to be hopefully passed right away because it has to be done by the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th. And Thompson Electronics is the only one that does that type of work, and they assured us that the work would be done in time, and if we get this passed in time. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Rosenbaum? All right.
Thank you.
Sharon, Health.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things to note in our committee. Becca told us a little bit about the electronic recycling. They collected 270,000 pounds of electronics. Actually, they reached capacity on Thursday. It was a week-long event, but they're planning on having another one in November. So, a joint resolution with Finance, which Mr. Fennell just explained on the Health Department's, the FEMA Public Assistance Funding. So, that passed unanimously. The other resolution was the third amendment to the landfill agreement. Part of the agreement is there has to be 4 drop-off locations. Currently, one of them is located at the PDC laboratories, and that was just becoming a problem with parking cars and such. So they met with the city and the county to discuss the locations, and it was decided to choose a site that is in Mossville, and it is near, well, it's in Mossville near Midwest Fiber. We also had Chris Coulter was here to discuss the landfill wetlands update. He gave us a nice presentation on that and what's going to be happening moving forward. We also had, Scott gave us a presentation regarding the Health and Human Service Campus on the project delivery methods. He explained 4 different types of methods that we could go with for that campus. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Any questions for the chairperson? Seeing none, land use. Member Dillon, welcome.
We had one zoning case, which is just a standard land split out in Princeville, taking the house off of it, so in Akron Township. And then the other one is an amendment to Chapter 12, Building and Property Maintenance Code, which we're not going to put on the consent agenda so that Kathy can give a presentation to the board in agreement. She's spoken to PAR, the home builders. She has the statistics for the costs increases, which are very minimal and in some cases have gone down depending on building structures. Like, for example, a 2-story house, now you don't need engineering studies if you have a arch cathedral ceiling type. So there were certain things like that. Some of it's standard guidelines from Illinois Energy Code that would have already applied to it. So we did ask that she present it to the whole board like the presentation she gave us so that there's a better understanding, but she's already engaged key stakeholders in the community, and most of them were already following this. City of Peoria, Tazewell, Washington, everybody else is starting to go to this. And the City of Peoria has it. A couple others already have it. I don't remember off the top of my head, but this is becoming standardized across the region.
Thank you. Mr. Dillon, will the zoning case be on consent, or will it be?
Zoning cases always have to be on the vote part. The only thing that doesn't have to be would be like this building codes resolution, but all zoning cases, no matter what, cannot go on consent agenda. But this one would have normally gone on consent agenda because it was a unanimous vote in committee, but I felt it was important that everybody, since we're a small committee, would get to hear the whole presentation. That it takes less than 5 minutes for her to give the presentation, so that everybody had a basic understanding, especially some of the members in the rural districts that a majority of our house building goes under. So,
Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Any questions for the chairperson? You're in luck, Jim. Mr. Salzer. Phil, would you check your mic, please? Thank you.
You want me to start over or not? Could they hear me?
I think we probably got it on the recorder because you're
Okay,
close. So keep
all right.
going.
But what we are going to do, we're approving this resolution where the state and the federal government are going to handle the situation mostly for us, because the federal government will give us 80% of the funds to do the rehab of this particular bridge, and we'll pay through our motor fuel tax. We'll pay 20%. Now, the project is expected to start in August. In fact, I think on the 11th of June of this year, of course, they're going to open the bids. The state, of course, opens these particular bids, and then we'll find out who the contractor is, and I'm sure that those people up there in Chillicothe and those others who use that particular bridge are going to be happy to, see this project done. The second resolution. The second resolution, as you see there, is a joint project, and our partner in this joint project on Willow-Nose Road is the city of Peoria. And what it has to do, of course, is finishing the sidewalks, because some of the sidewalks have been done, and we're looking at this area east of Allen Road over to University. And it's going to be a 50-50 project between the city and the county, and this will be done through our motor fuel tax. I think I said motor fuel tax on the bridge project. I should have said bridge funds. I didn't hear you correct me, Mr. Chairman.
Wouldn't think of it, Phil.
Oh, yes. Don't ever be afraid to correct a teacher, because teachers sometimes make mistakes just to see if people are listening to them. The third project there is the one out in Akron Township, and you've heard about this one before. Our people got together with the people up in that region in Akron Township, and they decided that they're going to have a preliminary engineering agreement, and through that work with Maurer Stutz, they are going to design another way for this Slane Road culvert project to happen, and this is not going to be done with any cost of the county. Did you hear me? No cost to the county. So they are going to use their own funds. This will be, of course, the township motor fuel tax funds. The last resolution has to do with the asphalt overlay out in Limestone Township. And there were 3 bids submitted to the Limestone people, and the lowest bid was R.A. Conan. The second bid was Advanced Asphalt. I think they're out of Princeton. Conan's out of Tremont. And then the third one was Tazewell Asphalt, and that's over in East Peoria. Now, this is something that the committee always looks at very carefully, are these bids, because the recommendation that our county highway person who is responsible for handling these motor fuel tax for the township, she recommended taking the second lowest bid, and the second lowest bid was Advanced Asphalt. And the reason she suggested it is that there's not that much of a difference between the lowest bid and the second bid. It was $1,725 and some, I think 85 cents. And the reason was because Limestone Township had had some problems with the lowest bidder, and they had not adequately been satisfied with some work that they had, that Conan had done for them earlier, I think it might have been last year. And it was on Dietrich Lane. And as a result, they asked our highway engineer not to, recommend that. They did not want Conan recommended. So because of a disagreement over what you might call the quality of work in past experience, they were asking that the second lowest bid be taken. And since our county engineer didn't think $1,700 and some dollars out of I think it was $220,000 bid and so forth. I don't remember exactly, but they were very, very close. And the committee said, okay, we'll go along with it this time. But just remember that Limestone could have, if they come to us and want more money for something, say, well, you could have had a little bit more money if you'd have taken the actual lowest bid. But we're going to satisfy them because they did write a letter. A guy by the name of Rick Ellender, he's a road commissioner out there. He was. I think he retired. But he did write a letter when this bid was made and so forth to not take the lowest bid. Questions on it?
Questions? Mr. Dillon? Part of your statement, Phil, was there was a question of quality. R.A. Cullinan does quite a bit of work in, well, as far as the eye can see, actually. Do you have concerns that any of the work that's either currently been awarded to them or maybe in the pipeline would suffer the same kind of a document from Mr. Allender?
He said in there that they had to have additional repairs made to the road that they had work done on Dietrich Lane, I think it was. I don't know where Dietrich Lane is in the Limestone Township area, but they said after Kona had finished it that there was deterioration and so forth, and so they had to go back and make additional repairs, and that's why they were not satisfied with the work that Kona had done for them in the previous year.
Thank you. Mr. Dillon?
Chairman, if you would go to the committee's packet, which is just there's photos on there, not to get too bit deep in the weeds of everything with them, but their attorney, their engineer, and the township supervisor wanted to go with the second bid due to the fact there was some issues with some oil that was applied on the road last year, and they are currently fighting back and forth. I think UCM came out, did a fix to it. It wasn't up to Allender's or Limestone Townships what they were expecting. Plus, there's some issues on some other warranty things. So not getting involved in it. They wrote a long letter with recommendations why they were going to the second bid, basically still because I'm not sure, Scott, was there a potential loss litigation over a road project? So it was within their wherewithal, and Amy, it's not typical practice that you see that happen, but the letter met the reasoning of going to the second bid. They did have an attorney present yesterday, and then there was pretty significant documentation and pictures of what's the tar and chip, the oil's laid, and the rocks go on it, and basically the centers of the road, it's just showing oil. So it could have very well been not necessarily a craftsmanship issue, but a material issue. And there's some ongoing bickering between the two over whose fault, who's going to pay for it, where it's going from. UCM, by standards, is a flagship contractor around here. They do work all across the state, so it's no reflection of them. In the contracting industry, this happens at times. This is why we talk about bonding being so important when we issue out RFPs, that the county and the townships would have recourse if need be. So I know we've had that discussion in the past about bonding, no bonding. This is just one of those issues. There's a disagreement between the two of them. I would sure Limestone has plenty of other work. They're going to resolve the issue, and they'll continue their relationship in the future. It's just right now they're arguing about a road that was done last year that needs to be done. I don't know if that clears it up, but there's pictures of the oil, and that was sufficient by the attorneys, I believe, and Amy to proceed over the $1,700. If we were talking $170,000, then you got some real disagreement, but $1,700 in the bid of that big is basically apples to apples. If that makes sense.
Thank you. Are there other questions?
Mr.
Mr.
Chair,
Salzer.
if you have a hard copy in front of you, it's on page 146 to 147, and then, of course, the photos that follow.
Okay, council, the process by which we conduct bids for service for, just say, road work, are we in compliance with our stated process?
On this specific instance?
Yes.
Yeah, they can opt to select the higher bid. It's a business decision. Now the county is the one contracting, which is why, of course, it comes to all of you for approval, because you are the stewards of the motor fuel tax, township motor fuel tax dollars. But in this instance, like Mr. Dillon said, they had reasoning for it, and the dollar amount was small enough that the committee felt comfortable.
All right. Phil, keep going, since I'm not voting at the moment. Anything else?
That's the last resolution.
Any other comments then for the chairperson of that committee? Thank you, Phil.
And Jimmy.
And Mr. Dillon. Mr. Renaud.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had two resolutions. The first was another grant awarded. Becky had solicited a grant, and it was awarded from Petco, and it's $10,000 grant that is going towards life-saving treatments of the animals in her care. Of course, that passed unanimously. The second is a resolution. It was an appropriation of funds. There was about $136,000 PO that was first voted on in 2017 by the board and approved. It's since been reappropriated for future use. The PO was accidentally closed before it was fulfilled. Therefore, we have to reappropriate the funds to the new PO. I believe this is for zoning software. Any other questions?
Is that a bill we're paying late, or we just
No.
have a balance from it?
No, we will not be late on the payment, provided the board actually approves it in 2 weeks. If you would deny it, then we've got a contractual obligation that might be a problem.
Okay, understood. Any questions for Mr. Renault on this? Miss Pastusha?
I just wanted to know if anybody's keeping track of how much grant money Becky has brought into PCAPS. She's just applying for everything. I think it's really awesome that she's doing that because she's bringing funds from grants to PCAPS, and I just think she deserves some kudos for her job.
Would you like to thank her while we're here? Oh, they watch from little cameras throughout the building. All right, we will make sure she gets something more official than a thank you. Thank you, Sean. Any other questions then for Mr. Renault? All right, so I think that puts us at the end of the public part of this agenda. We don't have a reason for executive session today, do we? All right, miscellaneous. Starting with Miss Kate.
I just wanted to let everybody know that there's some upcoming events. Springdale Cemetery is trying to do more public awareness to get people into the cemetery, to hopefully fall in love with the cemetery. And our long-range goal is to hopefully have people want to be buried in the cemetery. It is the public cemetery, partially funded by Peoria County and tri-county or tri-governmental or a government intergovernmental agreement with the city of Peoria and the Park District as well. So we are having a Memorial Day event. If you look on our Facebook page and on our website, we're having a drive-through event because of COVID. We weren't sure what the situation was going to be, so we didn't want to plan a live event. But there are stops along the way, and you can learn about veterans who are buried in the cemetery. So check that out. It's something you could do with your family, drive through. And we have a new grave finder app that you can use to locate the individuals. Also, we're going to have our first ever yoga event in the cemetery at 5:30 on Memorial Day. So that's a first. And I'm not sure exactly where it's going to be, but I believe there'll be signs posted, so it will lead you to where you need to go. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is just that I just wanted to recognize that this is the anniversary of the death of George Floyd, and I'm proud to be a part of an organization and a community that is actively doing something to change the racial disparity and the dynamics in our community. So,
Thank you, Kate. We were still at miscellaneous. I was looking around and I see Miss Daly. You're the current chairperson of the cemetery board.
Yes, I would say that we had a successful 5K run on the day before Mother's Day, and happy to say that obviously Kate attended, and so did Sharon Williams.
Did they finish in the top
Oh.
10% of the runners?
Okay.
Amy McLaren, too. Very good. Well, thank you for your stewardship, Miss Daly, of your chairperson responsibilities for the least best known asset that's not a waterway inside Peoria County. So I want to thank you for your service there.
Thank you.
We're here at miscellaneous. I see the sheriff's in the building. He's just keeping guard on us. All right, I have no other items on this agenda, and since we're through with miscellaneous, we would be adjourned. Thank you.